Hey dudes, welcome back to the Bimmer Dude channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're working on the Mini Cooper again, so stay tuned. If you guys own a Mini Cooper, you guys know that at some point you're gonna have to change out the valve cover gasket. Fortunately, it's not too difficult on this vehicle because the engine is not at a diagonal. The reason I'm making this video is very simple. It's one of those maintenance items that we all kind of dread, and at some point we're gonna have to do. Interesting enough, on the Mini Cooper, replacing the valve cover gasket isn't that difficult. The R56 Mini cylinder head is covered with a plastic cylinder head cover, otherwise known as a valve cover. The ignition coils are pressed in the top of the surface, the valve cover and spark plugs are installed in the deep wells of the valve cover. It's not widely known that the valve cover gasket is one of the most common places of an oil leak on a Mini Cooper. If you have an oil leak on this exhaust side or the front of the engine, you might want to start at the top and replace the valve cover first. When the valve cover gasket leaks, it can create quite a mess and kind of make things look a lot worse than they really are. I picked up a valve cover gasket from my local auto parts store, otherwise known as Babjian for me. I got it for $25. Not a bad deal, especially because I could get it the same day. I love to avoid the dealership or the stealership when at all possible. This job is pretty straightforward. I'm going to be removing all the bolts that hold the valve cover down, removing the spark plug wires and the spark plugs themselves. X could probably leave the spark plugs in there. We'll see when we get in there. I may or may not have to remove my intake this time. I know you guys see me do that multiple times, so you really don't need to see that portion again. But yeah, this job is pretty straightforward. I'm actually looking forward to this because this is not set up like your typical B&W engine. And here's something that's pretty interesting. It actually shows here that the engine is for a Peugeot or Citroen, so that's kind of cool. Just the fact that it actually comes with the part number and it says what it's for here. Pretty cool. So the reason that I'm actually changing my valve cover out, you guys may be wondering, is I started to smell just a small bit of oil, an oily residue. I notice it when I don't have recirculation mode on, when I have the AC on. I'm pretty sure that I probably need to change out the cabin filter at some point. Maybe I should be doing that at the same time. But I noticed that looking around the valve cover here, I began to notice in certain areas, you guys can see down there, it just kind of, it's not exactly like it's wet, but it's definitely damp. And the only thing that's on there is actually oil. So I believe there are certain areas, I guess you can kind of see right in there, guys. There's a fair amount of grime and it's just kind of damp. So I don't really think the valve cover has gotten too bad, but I definitely want to change this out. I don't like having oil this close to a turbo and exhaust housing. So yeah, I'm going to be replacing this out, and should be pretty simple, and hopefully inspire you guys to take care of your own. So the things you'll need for this job is fairly simple. You'll need some gasket maker, instant gas maker, at least a high temperature one. It doesn't really matter what brand. And you'll need a 10mm socket, and this is for taking off the mini bolts that are holding on the valve cover. And you'll need an 8mm socket as well. And lastly, you'll need a flathead screwdriver. Other than that, it should be pretty straightforward, guys. One of the things I picked up a little while ago was a impact driver from R56. This is the $69 variant of their half-inch one. This one here does just about everything else that this other one does, and it's still the same 18 volts, and it's pretty good. It does the job, and it saves my wrist quite a bit. So I'm going to use this to back out the bolts the rest of the way, and I'll use it again to tighten down the bolts to hand tight, and then I'll use my wrench again to do it by hand and tighten them down by hand. And I'm also using a telescoping magnet tool just in case some of these bolts decide they want to get away from me. This is also a good thing to have as well. And I think that's all the bolts holding it on here, so I think now we are free to remove the valve cover, guys. So as you guys can see here, I just took the valve cover off, and I'm going to just go out on a limb and say this is pretty bad. I got oil pulled up on the corners of the cylinder head. As you can see, if you follow around the outside, all around where the actual gasket follows, there's oil just sitting there. That typically means that oil is actually seeping past. And also, guys, this is a great time to inspect your timing chain guides, just kind of get an idea how they look. This is a great time to kind of get a snapshot of what the inside of your engine looks like and the overall health, and just how long you can expect before you have to do this job, because we all know at some point we all have to do it. So I got the old valve cover pulled off, and the valve cover gasket itself, it seems pretty hard and brittle. That's something you do not want if you want to keep oil back. There's no way you can hold oil back if the rubber grommet or the rubber seal is petrified. So I'm going to start prying this off, and I'm going to start replacing it with the brand new one. You guys want to be very careful when you're prying against the plastic on the valve cover. These things are known to be brittle, and you don't want to give it another reason to break on you, because if you break something on the valve cover, you won't get a proper seal, and then you need a new valve cover. And those things are about 400 bucks. So I don't know if you guys saw that, but these things are pretty petrified. I wasn't even pulling on it too hard at all, and it just literally broke right in front of me. So yeah, that right there, that is what you don't want. This is actually supposed to be one complete unit, and it broke into 3 pieces without much effort at all. So good thing we're changing this out. There we have it, guys. This thing is well, yeah, it had a little bit of brittleness to it, but either way, we definitely did not want the ones near the spark plug to start leaking, because that can give you misfires and mislead you to thinking it's other things as well. So now that I got the old gasket out and I don't really have to worry about that, I'm going to go ahead and clean off the surface area where the new valve cover gasket is going to be mated to. So now that I got the old valve cover out, the only thing that I need to do now is to refit the new one. Now here's something very interesting about the new valve cover. I don't know if this is an updated design, but I think I kind of like it. If you look right here on the old grommets that cover up the holes for the spark plug, it's over here, you see how it has this connecting bit in the middle that connects it to where the bolt hole goes? Yeah, on the new ones it seems like they're actually all separate. As you can see, these larger ones are for the spark plug holes, and the smaller one is for the holes right here that secure where the bolts go in. And as you can see, also they're not connected. So just thought that was kind of a cool little update that they did on these. So previously on the cylinder head there was RTF, let's see, right here in this section here, and there was RTF back here as well. So we're going to put it back there, and we're going to let it dry for a few minutes before we make the valve cover back onto the cylinder head, and we should be able to continue from there. So guys, I got the valve cover positioned back on the cylinder head. I like to leave the valve covers still without putting any torque down on the bolts for a little while before I tighten them down, just to give the RTF a chance to bite to the gasket itself. And then I'll come back in about 5 minutes time, maybe a little bit less, and torque everything down to spec. So guys, it's been about 5 minutes and the gasket has started to solidify, so now is a great time for me to start bolting this thing down. So guys, that'll about do it for the valve cover gasket replacement. As you guys can see, it was pretty straightforward, and it's just a good maintenance item to do on your vehicle. Sometimes there are oil leaks underneath these cars that seem like they might be a bigger issue. You might think it's like a rear main seal or something like that. Sometimes it's something as simple as a valve cover, and in my case, that was the case. So guys, hopefully I inspired you guys just to go ahead and take care of yours, and go check out the condition, since this is such an inexpensive part to replace, and it gives you an idea of how your timing chain guides look at any particular time. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching the Bimmer channel. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you want to be alerted for more videos. So until next time guys, peace out and Godspeed.